What's going on, everybody? It's Matt, the FF Mediators, with the Faceoff Sports Network, here to walk through my rankings for the 2025 Dynasty Rookie Tight End class we have coming up. And I'm really excited. The offseason's here, so it's time to start looking at these rookies and see what we can do for our Dynasty teams. And let's just get started with it. And the tight end one for me is going to be Tyler Warren, the big fella from Penn State, 6'6, 261. He's a senior. He played a lot at Penn State. And he's a pretty good player. And that was on display this year, especially approaching the playoffs where Penn State went on a little bit of a run. And Tyler Warren was a big part of that on the offensive end. Um, his receiving work at Penn State is pretty impressive. He was third among tight ends with 13 contested catches, not too many drops, forced 19 missed tackles, which was second among tight ends. He's a big play monster. No matter what you do, it just felt like you couldn't stop him. People bounced off him. He would run through you, around you, and find a way to just run away a lot of times. The big fella this season, he had a little over 1,100 yards with 8 touchdowns, almost 100 catches on the season. He was absolutely incredible, to be honest. When you watch the tape, he really looks like Penn State's best player, in my opinion. Singleton's really good. Drew Aller, we'll see, but Tyler Warren just showed he can do it. Lots of comps for him to Pat Fryermuth, but for me, I don't see it. I think he's actually more athletic. Although he's bigger than Pat Fryermuth, and a lot of times it looks like he kind of runs a little bit blocky, but it just finds a way to work. And he did this against everybody. He was an absolute matchup nightmare in space. He just found a way to get it done. Lots of mocks with him going in the 107 to 112 range, and I'm comfortable with anywhere in there. I probably won't draft him too much given the names that are around him and some of the names that are currently falling. But he's not my favorite tight end in this class, but I absolutely am comfortable having him on my team as I have him at ranked number 1 here. So let's jump to the tight end 2 of this class, and that is going to be Harold Fannin Jr. And I know that's going to shock a lot of people, the tight end from Bowling Green. When you first look at him, he's 6'4", 230. So the biggest questions for him is, can he hold up? Does he have the size to compete in the NFL? Blocking-wise, I won't sugarcoat it. He's got a lot to work on, but the pass catching is where he makes his money. His stats are absolutely unreal. He's amazing in open space, finds a way to just continue to push the ball down the field and really wind up in the end zone. And his 2 biggest games on the season against Texas A&M and Penn State, he absolutely balled out. You see here on Pro Football Focus, 91.7 and 88.6, and I can absolutely attest to those. He deserves it, if not to be even higher. Each of those games, he had an insane box score. And on the season, it's insane. He had over 1,500 receiving yards this season, 117 receptions, which is an FBS record, on 150 targets. He had nearly a 36% target share. You see his missed tackles here, 34 on the season. That was first among tight ends, also a record, I believe. Ninth, 9 deep ball catches, which is second among tight ends. 12 contested catches, which was fourth among tight ends. Third in deep yards. Everything you asked him to do, he could do. He has incredible hands, and whatever team drafts him is getting an immediate impactful player to make plays down the field. And I'm really, really excited to see him in the NFL because I think he can do it. He's my favorite player in this class, and I cannot wait to see what he can do at the next level. But let's jump to the tight end 3 for me, and that's going to be Colston Loveland of Michigan. A lot of people are going to be hot and cold on him. You're either going to love him or you're going to hate him. There's a couple reasons why. He's really young. He's only 20 years old. His size, you'd like for him to probably gain a little bit of weight. He's 6'5", 245, a junior coming out of Michigan. But that being said, when you're looking at his receiving stats, it's going to leave a little bit lacking, and that's just because of the offense that he played in. So don't look into that too much because you're going to see here tied for 86, 93rd, 105th, and that doesn't look great. But when you see the volume he had in the offense at Michigan, he played really, really well with what limited opportunities he had because they ran the ball so much. This season, he had 56 catches on 82 targets for 582 yards, got in the end zone 5 times, but a 25% target share. That's pretty good given that offense. His career, like I said, a 3-year player at Michigan, but he played all 3 years, producing stats in each year too. So a really, really good player who was on a decent offense, not this year, but last year when Michigan won it all. And the best part about him is he can do everything. He's not afraid to put his hand in the dirt. He's really good blocking. He's great with his initial hands. He's aggressive off the push. I watched him against Oregon, Texas, and Ohio State, and he was just fine in all of them. He's got really good hands. He's sneakily athletic, finds a way to run around people and break tackles and run through arm tackles. He's a really, really good player, and whoever drafts him is getting a what I believe to be a possible future stud at the tight end position going forward. But we'll just have to see who ends up taking him. But like I said, people are going to be hot and cold on him just because of that receiving profile and the work he had. But it does not scare me one bit. So let's jump to my tight end 4 of this class, and it's actually going to be Mason Taylor of LSU. If you're familiar with Jason Taylor, his father, Hall of Fame player from the Dolphins, he's got decent size, 6'5", 255. He's a junior from LSU. He played since he was a true freshman and produced since he was a true freshman too. His stats aren't going to necessarily blow you away, but he was very consistent. He's got solid hands. He can do about everything you can want to ask him to do. Pretty good route runner. At times he looks a little bit erratic, but for the most part, that doesn't really scare me because I think in the NFL he'll get a little bit more refined because he's also still pretty young too. In his career, pretty good amount of receptions, 129 with 181 targets, 1,300 yards. The question for him is he going to find a way to get in the end zone? Only 6 collegiate touchdowns. It's kind of a sticky stat, I know, but we'll just have to see who drafts him because I think situation is going to matter the most. But what is beneficial is he blocks pretty well in pass pro, so that's going to be good for keeping him on the field in the NFL. But he's got pretty good hands. The pro day and the combine are going to probably be the most important things for him. He's going to have to test pretty well. Most rookie drafts, he's going to be probably falling in the 3rd round. But in a tight end premium league and he gets in a good landing spot, maybe at, I don't know, Cincinnati, Washington, wherever he goes, he's someone that you should keep your eye on and be interested in seeing what you can do to get him. But let's jump to our next tight end, guys, and that is going to be Oronde Gadsden of Syracuse. Now, this is probably a name a lot of people haven't heard of. Pretty good player at Syracuse. He's got NFL ties too. He's 6'5", 236. So the biggest question for him is, can he hold up on the field? A redshirt junior his first year, and I believe he got hurt, so he didn't play really at all. But then after that, he played 3 consecutive years and put up pretty good stats. When he was on the field, he found a way to be really impactful. This season, he had 73 catches on 103 targets, almost 1,000 yards with 7 touchdowns. Really, really good season. You know, you see here on Pro Football Focus, he had 17 contested catches, which was 2nd among tight ends, 5th in deep yards, 2nd in deep catches. He's really a player that can do it all. The biggest question for him is, can he block? Major blocking concerns for me. I think he needs to gain 10 pounds, but he has tremendous hands. He's someone that finds a way to get into zone coverages and just sit in space. And that shows up on field. I watched him against UConn and Miami, where he had pretty good target numbers in each of those games. And he constantly did that. He found open space and he was able to help out his quarterback. If you're unfamiliar, his quarterback there was Kyle McCord, the former quarterback of Ohio State, who threw the ball a ton at Syracuse. I think he had like 500 something at passing attempts. So this offense was throwing the ball like crazy. And Oronde Gadsden was a big part of that offense. He's someone that's probably going to be able to be got in the 3rd round, would be my guess. Landing spot's going to be pretty impactful for him because he needs to get on the field early, because I don't think his blocking is necessarily going to help him. He was a better run blocker than a pass blocker, but still, he left a lot to be desired overall. But if he's on the field during passing downs, he can absolutely make a team pay, just given his athleticism and his ability to really use his speed and his knack to find space to his benefit. But let's jump to my tight end 6, which is probably going to be tight end 3 or 4, or maybe even higher for some people, and that's Gunnar Helm of Texas. When you look at him, he looks like a tight end. He's 6'5", 250, and he looks every bit of that. The tape for me left a lot to be desired. His Pro Football Focus grades, you see, not exactly the best here, but a lot of people really like him. There's some recency bias there, just given the fact that he was part of Texas and was in the college football playoffs this season. But when I watched him against Georgia, it felt like he got pushed around a lot. And that concerns me given the fact that most NFL defensive lines are going to be similar to a Georgia defensive line. They're good players. They're large men that are running and attacking at you. And it kind of felt at times that he was a little unsteady. He was blocking with his hands really, really wide. And that's a problem because that's how you get caught with holdings. And he had several of those in college. And he also had a bunch of times where he was holding and it didn't necessarily get called, which is great, but not necessarily great for NFL tape. When you're looking at his receiving work, it wasn't too bad. I mean, he certainly did enough, but in the Texas offense, it was just a little bit different. This season he had 58 receptions on 70 targets, so he caught the ball pretty well when he did get the opportunity. Found a way to get in the end zone, 6 touchdowns this year. Over his career, he only had 9 touchdowns, so not necessarily too much that he did. Well, see 7 touchdowns here, but I'm looking at rankings that aren't including the latest playoff games. But that being said, he's still someone that I want to see a little bit more of. The pro day and the combine are probably going to be a lot, and the draft capital for me is what's really going to matter. He's ranked a lot higher than I personally have him just because I didn't necessarily see it. But let's get into my last tight end of this class, and that's going to be Terrence Ferguson of Oregon. This is a guy who played 3 consecutive years. He was asked to do it all. I mean, Oregon's been a loaded team for the last several years with playmakers all over the field, so not necessarily the most opportunity in the world, but he played pretty well with that. I mean, this season he had 43 receptions on 65 targets with almost 600 yards, only 3 touchdowns on the season, but nothing's really going to blow you away except this right here, yards after the catch. He's pretty good at that. Anytime he caught the ball, he just found a way to get downfield and get those extra yards because he's really, really tough. I watched him live at Texas Tech, not this year, but last year. A really good player. His Michigan tape is pretty good. He's good after the catch. He squares up when he's blocking. He hustles. He's really tough. Decent route runner, not necessarily going to blow you away, but he's someone that I think is enough to get it done. And as it stands right now at the tight end landscape, especially in Dynasty, we'll take all the names we can get because you just never know who's going to pop up eventually. For example, you had Cade Otton this year who came out of nowhere for the most part, but those are the opportunities we're looking for. We're looking for guys who are going to get drafted to a class and have the ability to put up numbers right away or over time. If they're tied to a good quarterback, that's going to matter. But we'll just have to see as we approach the combine. I'm really excited for this class because I think it's a pretty deep tight end class. There's several names I didn't even mention that I'm still going through the tape. And let me tell you, there's names that intrigue me. So if you're in any type of tight end premium league, there's some guys that you should be drafting in the end of the 3rd round or especially in a 4th round where you can just take a bunch of different names and just see what hits. But for me, I'm leaving it with Harold Fannin Jr. is my absolute favorite player in this class, and I'm going to do everything I can to walk away with him in most drafts as it stands right now. We'll see what happens with the pro day and the combine, especially when we hit that NFL draft. But let me know down below who you're drafting, who's your favorite tight end, what's your rankings? Do you disagree? Is there a name I left off that you think we should look into? Be sure to give that video a like, and we'll catch you next time.